Hey, welcome everyone to Morning Flow. My name is Mark Cormier. I'll be working with Kathy Cormier today, and we'll have a morning flow practice. Feel free to comment if you want to see anything in particular or work on anything in particular. Otherwise, grabbing whatever you need for your morning practice, a water bottle, setting out your mat. It's all good. So anyway, let me straighten the brick here. It'll probably get knocked down again. Welcome, Kathy Cormier.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you feeling this morning?
Feeling good. Good morning, everybody.
Awesome. Anything you'd like to work on?
Posture, just keeping when you're typing, which you have to do a lot, keeping your back straight.
Okay. So I call them the metrics of the human body. But my favorite metric, and I'll repeat it lots of times in class, either this class or any other class you come to with me, is the back of the head in line with the sacrum. And then the other one is ears over shoulders, ears and shoulders over hips, ears, shoulders, hips over heels. And you can get way more complicated than those two metrics, but for most of us,
That sounds good. I like it.
Should work pretty good. There's this
Yeah.
little center of the ear in line with the center of the shoulder. And it's like, okay, whatever. Anyway,
I understand.
you understand. I want to
But
give
also
people
staying-
simple
But
stuff.
that being said, also staying relaxed when you're doing that. You know what I mean? So it's not like feeling like you're just ramrod straight.
So let's play with it a little bit before we start. But so traditional yoga, you want to root from the ground up. So really finding your feet. And as you find your feet, you want to feel a lifting of your arches. In terms of the grounding down through the foot, a couple different ways to do it. Some people like to use 3 points, base of the big toe, base of the little toe, and something called the heel bindu, which is just a little bit in front of the heel. You want to feel that on both feet as you draw the energy up. Some people like to use 4 points, either side of the front of the heel, big toe, little toe. Because it works for you, right?
What if your arches are so flat that you actually feel part on the floor?
Well, you can still have that energetic action of lifting the arches.
Okay.
So even though they might not actually lift, you can still feel that working of the foot.
Excellent.
From your feet, finding your legs. From your legs, from that foundation, finding your spine. At this point, you might think back of the head in line with the sacrum. Tall through the crown of the head, as the crown of the head stretches up to the sky. There's another way, a little more relaxed, because yoga tends to be, at least in this country, very energetic. In some of the other Eastern traditions, you want to lose tension. So you want to let your belly be soft.
Let it stick out.
Let it stick out. Softening your knees a little bit. Letting your weight gather in your feet. So we're kind of working it from the top down instead of the bottom up. One other thing I like to think about in this, and I'll do a visual demo, and this is a fun one, especially around Christmas time, pretending you're a Christmas ornament, and you're hanging from the tree, top of your head is attached there, and then from all that, the weight just goes down. So as I'm looking at you right now, it looks like you're maybe trying a little bit too hard here, so just let it go. And usually a great way to let it go is just to exhale. There you go. And let's get started. So however you choose to find your good posture, whether from the bottom up, the top down. Just start to move and breathe. So hands on hips. We can rock it from side to side. So picking ourselves up and give it a little kick. And then starting to slow that down, starting to get a little smaller. And rocking it from side to side. And then finding your center. From here, let's take it front to back without lifting the toes or lifting the heels, just back and forth. And then starting to slow that down and finding the center of your foot. Here's a fun one here. Circling the circumference of the foot without moving the hips. And that's going to be hard. And your hips will move. Yeah, it's not a big hip circle. It's a foot circumference circle. And then taking that circle the other way. And then back to center. So at this point, making a choice, I like to work wide in the morning just because I want to feel a good foundation so I don't have to worry about it too much. As the practice develops, though, starting to connect with center as you narrow the stance. And classically, Big toes touch, heels slightly apart for the most part. My first sun cells, my feet are a lot wider than that. Soft knees, relaxed shoulders, tall through the crown. Letting your weight gather in your feet, so we try to combine the two methods here. Inhaling arms out to the side and overhead. Exhaling arms back down. Inhaling arms up. Exhaling arms down. Inhaling arms up. Exhaling arms down. Adding a forward fold, half sun salutation. Inhaling arms up. Exhaling, leading with the heart as you fold. Take a breath to find length. I like to cap the knees with my hands. Exhaling, catching the back of the shins as we round the spine and traction ourselves deeper. Inhaling, arms out to the side. You won't get there right at first, but try to feel that connection between the back of the head and the sacrum. Neutral spine, arms out to the side and then overhead. Exhaling, standing tall. 2 more times like this. Inhale. Exhaling as we fold. Breathing in, finding length as we arc the back. Exhaling, arching the spine as we fold again. Inhaling, moving towards neutral spine, flat back, arms out to the side and then overhead. Exhaling, standing tall. 1 more time. Breathing in, lifting up. Exhaling over. Take a breath to find length. Exhaling, folding again. Inhaling, riding the breath up. Exhaling, standing tall. So I'll ask you to go sideways here, Kathy, for sun cell A, finding the top of this mat, which is going to be, I think, so how's the camera look? Now you can come a lot more forward than that, Kathy, I think. Yeah, a lot more. You can come all the way to that brick there, if not even a little bit in front. And you don't have to be in center of the frame for this one, because when you get to your down dog, that'll be the center of the frame.
Right.
All right. Inhaling, arms up and over the head. On the exhale, finding your forward fold. Take a breath to find length as you look up. On the exhale, rounding the spine, grounding down through the hands. I'm not going to cue vinyasa in this first one as you find your down dog. So stepping 1 foot back and then the other. Yeah, so not cueing vinyasa.
That's right.
Yeah, good job.
I'm just trying to do the frame. But
It's all good. But as you hold down dog, I'll invite you to walk your dog, bending one leg deeply as you grind down through that opposite heel. And then finding that second side, I'll invite you to be a little bit slower, a little more deliberate on this one. Just really feel it starting to connect with your feeling body. And in yoga theory, there's different bodies. There's the body that we all think we have, which is very material, very solid. The energetic body, the breath body. And there's something I like to call the feeling body. There's that connection, just how do things feel. From this place of movement, I'll invite you to move back towards stillness. Long arms, long spine, deep full breath. And then on the tail end of that breath, bending the knees ever so slightly as you lift the tailbone a little higher, more space in the low back. And then looking between the hands as you either step or maybe you take a jump front. Really up to you. If you're not ready for the jump, no worries. Take a breath to find length when you arrive. Hands cap the knees. Exhaling, folding again. Inhaling, hinging at the hips, arms out to the side and then overhead. Exhaling, standing tall. This time I will cue vinyasa. Having said that, feel free to skip. Inhaling, arms up and over the head. On the exhale, a big forward fold. Take a breath to find length. And then breathing out, grounding on down and cycling through vinyasa if you choose. Finding yoga push-up with or without the knees, your choice. Inhaling either into a cobra, the hips stay down, or finding your up dog as you lift those hips up. And then rolling over the toes, finding your down dog. Other choices might be all fours. You might find a child's pose. Always finding a good balance between your effort and your ease. Wherever you choose to work, breathing, watching your breath, and enjoying that reflection upon your breath. As we hold down dog, I'll invite you to bring your attention to the base of your throat. From that place, listening and feeling as your breath flows in and out. From down dog, long, smooth breath in. Long, smooth breath out. Tail end of that breath, bending the knees ever so slightly, lifting the tailbone a little bit higher, more space in the low back. And then looking between the hands as you either step or take that jump front. Take a breath to find length when you arrive. On the exhale, folding again. Inhaling, riding the breath up, arms out to the side and then overhead. Exhaling, standing tall. Let's do one more. We'll throw a moving plank into the mix. Inhaling up. Exhaling over. Take a breath to find length. And then on the exhale, back to down dog as you will. Either cycling through vinyasa or stretching straight back. Your choice. Feeling free to hold down dog. If you want to add that moving plank to generate a little more heat, call it tapas, which sounds just like the Spanish word for small, hot bite, or maybe cold bites too. Inhaling forward to a plank, and then on the exhale, navel to spine as you lift the hips high. A couple more times like this. Inhaling forward, exhaling, drawing it back. Inhaling forward, exhaling, drawing it back. You want to take it further. Inhaling forward and then letting the hips be heavy, shoulders stay engaged, up dog with tucked toes, and then navel to spine as you lift the hips high. If that's too much for your back, feel free to skip. Inhaling forward, letting your up dog with tucked toes, hips get a little heavy, shoulders stay engaged, and then navel to spine as you lift the hips high. One more time. Inhaling forward, hips get a little heavy, up dog with tucked toes. It's not easy. And then navel to spine as you lift the hips high. You probably don't even have to take it that far. And then holding your down dog for a few breaths. Everyone always asks, what do my shoulders do in down dog? Are they elevated? Are they depressed? Are they externally rotated? Are they internally rotated? Are they protracted? Are they retracted? I like to think all of that. So there's lots of engagement that helps support the shoulder, which is less stable than the hips.
And you do that, how do you do that? By pressing in your hands and fingers?
Really press into your hands, drawing the energy up from the floor, finding the midpoint between protraction, retraction,
Like almost,
external rotation, internal rotation, and elevated and depressed.
would that be a movement of almost like grabbing your mat a little bit?
You could, a nice way to cue it is grinding down through the base of the fingers as you draw the center of the palm up towards the shoulders. To keep moving, bending the knees ever so slightly, lifting the hips a little bit higher, more space in the low back, and then looking between the hands as you either step or jump to the front of your mat. Take a breath to find length. On the exhale, folding again. Inhaling, hinging at the hips, leading with the back of the heart, rising on up, nice. And then on the exhale, neutral spine, hands by your side. Sun salutation B, flow style on this point. I will ask you to narrow the stance, just because we want to keep the knees tracking right over the toes. So big toes touch, heels slightly apart. Inhaling into your chair pose, knees over toes, hands overhead. Flow style, taking it lower, more strength in your legs, exhaling. On the inhale, rising on up, engaging your glutes to support a back bend at the top. On the exhale, a big swan dive over. Take a breath to find length as you arc the back. On the exhale, arching the spine as you fold and make your way back to down dog as you will. In our down dog flow style, big toes touch, heels slightly apart, right leg high to the sky, high on the left toes for a nice Achilles tendon calf stretch. Keeping the right shoulder just as it is, lifted legs, we're not going to do that yet. You're going to bring that right foot forward, spinning the left heel down, back leg long, back leg strong, arms out to the side and then overhead. Warrior one. And then on the exhale, spinning the palms out, spinning that back heel up, finding your low lunge, and from low lunge, back to down dog as you will. And you take your time, find your flow, follow your breath. I try to leave lots of space for people to do their thing and not rush through the sequence. Having said that, we do want to keep the energy going. Second side, big toes touch, heels slightly apart, left leg high to the sky, high on the right toes. Trying to keep that left shoulder just as it is as you bring that left foot through, spinning the back heel down, arms out to the side and then overhead, inhaling, and then on the exhale, back to your down dog, and again, take your time, finding your low lunge. And from low lunge, maybe the push-up, maybe not. Maybe you take it right to a child's pose. The beauty of the flow practice is, in my opinion, the agency that the practitioner has in determining how to move through space with grace. Yeah, you can hold that down dog in stillness, you can rock your dog, you can walk your dog. Again, the important thing is to connect with your feeling body. How do things feel? Wherever you chose to work, if you did choose to add movement, moving back towards stillness, from stillness, long smooth breath in, long smooth breath out. Tail into that breath, bending the knees ever so slightly, lifting the tailbone a little higher, more space in the low back, and then looking between the hands as you either step or take a jump front. Take a breath to find length. On the exhale, folding. On the inhale, stay low, knees over toes, hands over head, finding our chair. Exhaling, taking it lower. On the inhale, rising on up. On the exhale, hands by your side, neutral spine. Let's do one more Sun Sal B, Surya Namaskar B. We'll add a hip opener and the shoulders become more important on that one. Inhaling into our chair. Exhaling, taking it lower. Inhaling, rising on up. On the exhale, a big swan dive over. Inhaling, finding length. On the exhale, folding again and making your way back to down dog as you will, either cycling through vinyasa or stretching straight back, your choice. Take your time. Find your flow. From down dog, big toes touch, heels slightly apart. Right leg high to the sky, high on the left toes. Now that shoulder cube makes a lot more sense. Keeping the right shoulder just as it is, lifted leg straight, stacking the hips. Now bending that lifted leg, opening up that hip. And then looking between the hands, bringing that right foot through, spinning the back heel down, finding your warrior one, arms out to the side and then overhead. And then on the exhale, back to low lunge, and from low lunge, back to down dog, as you will. And when you're ready, second side, big toes touch, heels slightly apart, left leg high to the sky, high on the right toes. Keeping that left shoulder just as it is, lifted leg straight, stacking the hips. Now bending that lifted leg, opening up that hip, and then looking between the hands, bringing that left foot through, spinning that back heel down, back leg long, back leg strong, inhaling arms up. And then on the exhale, back to your low lunge, and from low lunge, back to down dog, as you will. Deep full breaths. And we hold down dog, coming back to an even breath. Samarvriti, same breath. Equal inhale, equal exhale. In every aspect, length, duration, intensity, where the air goes, where the air doesn't go. And like a lot of things. In yoga, that's aspirational. So don't beat yourself up if it's not quite equal. From down dog, long, smooth breath in. Equally long, smooth breath out. Tail end of that breath, bending the knees ever so slightly as you lift the tailbone a little higher, more space in the low back, and then looking between the hands as you either step or take a jump front. Take a breath to find length. On the exhale, fold. On the inhale, stay low, finding your chair, the powerful pose. Exhaling, taking it lower, more power in those legs. On the inhale, as if you're a jack in the box or a Jane in the box, rising on up, big back bend at the top, and then neutral spine, hands by your side. Let's face camera, Kathy, as we bring hands to heart, a light press of your thumb against your sternum, lining up each finger, without shortening the neck, a slight tuck of the chin as we return to that internal focus, watching as our breath flows in and out. Lifting the chin tall through the crown, hands by our side. Hands find the hips. If your feet aren't already hip width apart, we can either step or jump them out that way. Working with our fire breath. Short, sharp exhalations out through the nose as we inhale, arms up to one side. On the exhale, passing hands through center, giving those wrists a flick, and then other side. Halfway done. Last two each way. One more each side. And then back up and either stepping or jumping it in. Sun salutation C, an extended standing pose sequence. Thank you for going sideways. And again, top of your mat. You have plenty of room to work. Inhaling into our chair. Knees over toes, hands overhead. Exhaling, taking it lower. On the inhale, rising on up, glutes engaged to support that back bend at the top. Long and smooth through the low back. On the exhale, a big swan dive over. Take a breath to find length, and then breathing out. Back to down dog as you will, either cycling through vinyasa or stretching straight back. And again, that is a real choice. You don't have to do all the push-ups. Some people like to throw extra push-ups in. Again, you have a lot of agency in the flow practice. So we'll start the standing sequence with that same hip opener. Big toes touch, heels slightly apart. Right leg high to the sky. High on the left toes. Keeping right shoulder just as it is, lifted leg straight, stacking the hips. Now bending that leg, opening up that hip, and that's a lot of work for the shoulder, I know. And then bringing that right foot through, spinning the back heel down, arms out to the side and then overhead for our warrior one. So I love the balance poses. Let's get right to it. As hands come back to the hips, spinning the back heel up, either taking a series of steps or one big step in. As we start to balance on our right foot, we're moving towards warrior three. Don't worry too much about the frame. In warrior three, you could work a relatively minimal warrior three as you just balance on one foot. Otherwise, starting to pitch the body forward, lengthening through both legs without locking the knees. Working arm variations, we can stretch hands back as the shoulders stretch away from the ears. We can stretch hands out to the side, wide across the front of the heart. Classically, stretching the hands in front as if you're holding a large glass ball. And this is easier said than done, lifting the face to lift through that ball. Don't worry about the frame too much. Yeah.
That's awesome. Help me get my balance back.
Yeah, and keep grounding. I'm going to suggest grounding down to the base of the big toe and the second toe. So really feel the inside edge of the foot. Most of our ankles tend to buckle out. Don't be afraid to let that knee be soft. From here, hands come back to the heart. Hard hands become hip hands. We're going to land a warrior one prep. So that back foot comes down and take the time to set your stance. So safest way to do that is to work from the front foot as you scoot the back foot back. Having said that, for the purposes of the camera, Kathy wants to be right in the center, which is nice. With our hands on our hips, we can turn warrior one hips into warrior two hips. So you got your right foot front, left foot back. You're going to open up the hips to face the side. You might narrow the stance just a tad. Classically, it's heel to arch alignment. And then finding one long arm, looking out over those front fingers with a steady yet relaxed gaze. And the drishti is important. Just practicing how you're going to look at things today. Steady is good. Relaxed is good. So not too hard, not too soft. From here, I'll invite you to paint rainbows. Breathing in, palm faces back, straightening front leg without locking knee. Exhaling back. I'll let you do that a few times. I'm not going to cue it specifically. We'll do about 6, working with your breath. Yeah, be super fluid, even more fluid here. Just feeling every single little. Just envisioning your inner palm tree here. And we got these beautiful palm trees on the Embarcadero. Let's do one more here before we hold. So finding a reverse warrior as we hold reverse warrior, reaching up higher, reaching down further. The obvious focus is this front lateral line as you find more space between each rib, but also feel like you're lifting that back lateral line up and out of the pelvis. So legs have to work really hard here. Turning our reverse warrior back into warrior two. Finding a rainbow warrior, a clasp of the fingers behind the back, shoulder blades back and down initially, open heart, open throat. Feeling free to stay here Strong, strong legs supporting a forward fold if you choose to go there. Either using the thigh to park the torso or letting the torso hang free. And take your time. This is not easy. Everyone thinks the forward folds, because they tend to be relaxing, are easy, but to stay safe in a forward fold, you really have to work those legs. This particular one is challenging for the balance. As we hold the shape, adding a little swing, a little sway, inviting any tension in the neck and shoulders to drain down through the crown of the head into the earth. From here, a strong tuck of the chin as we bring it on up, coming back to our warrior two. Moving towards my favorite of the classic standing poses, the triangle. Thumb and forefinger find crease of hip and base of rib. We're going to deepen that crease. We're going to lengthen those ribs as we straighten the front leg without locking the knee. Grounding bottom. I'll grab the bricks for you if you want. I'll be your yoga assistant.
Thank you.
So you want 2 bricks or 1?
I'll do 2.
So with the bricks, you might even come a little bit closer to the side of the mat. And you want to feel that physical connection here. And that's going to give you the confidence to lean back into the shape, but not too much. So you want to think there's a glass wall here. You're leaning against the glass wall. You don't want to break the glass. Nice. That's beautiful. As we hold the triangle with every breath, and it looks like there's a little bit of strain there. Do you want to shorten your stance a little bit? Okay. So you're feeling good. Yeah. So again, we're working hard. You still want to feel that effort of relaxation. So getting back to the conversation we had before. So there's different ways to stand. We can be super energetic. We can be super relaxed. We want to find that place between the two. As we hold the shape, breathing into your center of balance. 3 fingers below the navel. And then from the center, connecting to the periphery of the room as you stretch long through those arms, long through the legs, long through both ends of the spine. Moving towards the half moon balance challenge. Hand finds the hip, either a series of smaller steps or one big step in, up to you. Setting your base, feel free to use a brick or no brick. As we ground right hand out to the right. A lot of times people like to challenge their balance with a narrower stance, but realize if you've got a nice wide, I see a square, the hand and the foot are the diagonal. There's another invisible diagonal. So the bigger that square is, the easier it's going to be to balance. Having said that, if you go too wide, then you can start to lose the energy away from center. Opening up top shoulder, stretching hands high. Different things to do with the back foot. Classically, I think in light on yoga, it's a flexed back foot. I think if I flex the foot, for some reason I feel a little constricted with the diaphragm, and I think there's actually a physical basis for that. So I like to let the foot be a little bit soft without being asleep. Nice, it's so nice. And again, breathing into your center of balance, and from that place, getting bigger in space from the inside out. Let's land an easeful short stance here. Hand finds the hip, back foot comes down, no big deal. Hands find the hips, you're going to shift the weight into the feet. Shifting weight onto front foot, don't worry too much about the frame as you lengthen your stance, coming back to your warrior two. And then from warrior two, I'll suggest a big windmill of the arms as you stretch out your shoulders. Take your time. Finding your low lunge, and from low lunge, back to down dog as you will. And I love working with Kathy because she's so mindful, which is what really it's all about. And mindful is a word we throw around easily, but it really, in my mind, is finding that feeling body. It's not so much about the mind, it's more about the feeling body, just how do things feel. And going with that. We always say listen to your body, but more importantly, listening and respecting what your body has to say. So let's go into a pigeon sequence here, also known as the swan. I prefer to call it the swan. It's a more beautiful word in my mind, although pigeons might take offense. So we're going to work the same hip opener to get there. And we're going to do a little paradiddle here. So we're going to work left leg and then right leg. So big toes touch, heels slightly apart. Left leg high to the sky. High on the right toes. Keeping that left shoulder just as it is, lifted leg straight, stacking the hips. Now bending that lifted leg, opening up that hip. And then keeping the knee joint closed as you sweep that left knee towards left wrist. The same side. Now as you settle the hips, everyone's hips are different size, different shapes. Make sure you're comfortable. So you want to find as much length as you can, but also as you find that length, you don't want to strain. And this is a weird position with the heel. My hips are relatively narrow and I have big feet. I like to use the heel to support the far hip. If your hips are bigger and smaller, as Kathy's are, which is awesome, she may put the heel somewhere else, but put it in a place that feels good. From here, I like to find the tips of 10 fingers as we set the shoulder blades back and down. And you want to kind of keep that same sense of leading with the heart, arms in extension. Take your time here as you stretch out your back. There's no rush here. We're not trying to get anywhere. You're feeling the back. You find more space with every, I call them spidering those fingers front. So the little spiders are walking front. At a certain point, you won't be able to find any more length and you can let the pose relax. I prefer to keep the hands in extension so I get a little more stretch in the shoulders. Having said that, if this is super uncomfortable, you could always support the forehead with a cross of the forearms or even a pair of soft fists. I think Kathy prefers the crossed forearms. As we hold the shape, maybe you're still not quite in optimal alignment, feel free to add a little movement here, like a roulette ball finding its slot. But when you do find that place, just letting everything go, moving from that place of effort to that place of ease. And just like we let the weight settle in our feet in our standing pose, just letting the weight of your body settle onto the mat. Almost like your whole body's filled with sand. From here, let's fly the swan. So if the arms are in extension, they'll spider those fingers back. If you're working otherwise, just finding the tips of 10 fingers. And again, we want to set the shoulder blades back and down. From here, intense core engagement as we draw the perineum up towards the navel up towards the heart, as we float the hands out to the side and then overhead. As we hold this shape, I'll invite you to circle the wrists. First one way and then the other. Maybe playing with spreading those fingers and then letting the hands relax. It's inviting more circulation into our hands. And I don't want to hold you here too long to keep your knee happy. So spinning the palms out, finding the flats of 2 palms. And that's going to support the action as you tuck the back toes, keeping the knee joint closed as you lift that leg up. And then very carefully opening that knee, inviting blood, circulation, prana, life force, vitality to flow back into that knee joint. And then when you're ready, grounding down through the feet and either hanging out here, walking the dog perhaps, or cycling through vinyasa. Another thing, try to keep your brows smooth, Kathy. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know you're looking at the camera, but you want to keep the third eye clear.
Oh, no, I just was looking at kind of like a mirror.
Okay, yeah, but definitely, it's a good thing to focus on. It's subtle, but try to keep the brows smooth.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's a place where we tend to gather tension. So if we can keep that from happening, we can stay relaxed in other parts of the body too.
You can do it by closing your eyes.
Yes, you can. So we're working a little paradiddle here. So we're going to stay on the left side, and I think we're going to do that standing sequence on the left side. Big toes touch, heels slightly apart, left leg high. Face the camera, okay. Keeping that left shoulder, so high on the right toes, nice. Keeping left shoulder just as it is as we stack the hips. Now bending the leg, opening up that hip, nice. And then looking between the hands as we bring that left foot through, spinning the back heel down, back leg long, back leg strong. Finding your warrior one. Awesome. Now we're going to go right to the first balance challenge, the warrior 3. Hands find the hips. Spinning the back heel up, either a series of small steps or one big step in as we start to balance on the left foot. Yeah, your warrior 3 could be super minimal. Just seeing what it's like to stand on one foot, particularly early in the morning. Our balance is a little challenged. Challenging that balance as you pitch the body forward, lengthening through the legs without locking the knee. Playing with the arm variations, we can stretch the hands back as the shoulders stretch away from the ears. We can stretch the hands out. Just lots of space across the front of the heart. And then stretching those hands in front. I know the mirrors or the windows make it a little challenging here. Then lifting the face to look through the hands, challenging your balance, but also opening up your throat chakra. Just want to feel a little lift of the chin there if you can. Awesome. As we balance a few more breaths here, you can always tap that back toe down. Grounding down through the inside edge of the feet. Many of us tend to leg, drawing the energy up.
You will feel in the back of your hip.
Yeah, no, it's challenging. Hands in front, come to the heart. Then hands find the hips as we land that back foot down. Finding your warrior one. So finding a length of stance that works for you. With hands on hips, we can turn one hips into two hips. You might narrow the stance. Classically, it's heel to arch, feeling free to work wider. And then finding that one long arm. And the drishti, the eye focus, is super important here. A subtle thing, but you want to look over those fingers with a steady, relaxed gaze. So, what's it, the middle bear here? The porridge is not too hot, not too cold.
Just right.
Just right. It's the same thing with how we approach the world, just right. From here, and I'll let you do it at your pace, painting rainbows, straightening front leg without locking knee on the inhale. On the exhale, finding your warrior two. Just back and forth, say 5, 6, 7. And again, channeling your inner palm tree here, so really feeling like you're drawing a nice, smooth line through space, like you're being rocked by the wind. And the forces of gravity, and the wind, they don't really, I mean, sometimes you do get gusts. Typically when we fall out of shape, a gust of gravity. But generally they're continuous forces, so you feel like continuity. Nice. And then after one more, let's hold that reverse warrior. And as we reach up higher, we reach down further. The obvious focus is this front lateral line, finding more space between each rib, but also feel like that back lateral line. You're lifting up and out of the pelvis. Like smoke rising out of a bowl. And pelvis actually means bowl in Latin. From here, reverse warrior comes back to warrior two. Switching the clasp of the fingers, so we'll walk the fingers one over. Clasp of the hands behind the back, setting up for the rainbow warrior. Shoulder blades back and down initially. And then leading with the heart, you might choose that forward fold. You can use the thigh to park the torso upon, or letting the torso hang free. And then at the end, rather than still stretching the shoulders up and back towards the hips, letting those shoulders melt down towards the floor. I'll invite you to add a little swing, a little sway, just inviting any tension in your neck and shoulders to drain down through the crown of the head into the earth. And then maybe you start with a big swing and a big sway, and you start to dial it in. Maybe you start small and get bigger. Again, just connecting with your feeling body. And then from a place of movement, coming back towards stillness with a strong tuck of the chin to stretch out the back of the neck. Keeping that tuck as we bring it on up, coming back to our warrior two. From warrior two, moving towards my favorite of the classic standing poses, the triangle, thumb and forefinger find crease of hip and base of rib, deepening that crease, lengthening those ribs. And then grounding that bottom hand down. I'll grab your bricks, don't come out of the shape. Either using the shin, or maybe making yourself a little brick edifice. And I like to have the bricks lightly touching the outside of the ankle or the outer calf. And that way you feel that physical connection. So you feel a little more confident to lean into the back plane of the body. And I like to think of a glass wall here. You want to feel the glass, but you don't want to break the glass. Nice. And so nice. Yeah, energy in all parts of the body. Okay. Yeah, Kathy likes to work those wrists, which is awesome. My basic cue on this one is to breathe into your center of balance as we start to prepare for the next balance challenge. And then when you're ready, we'll move towards that challenge. Top hand finds the hip. We can soften that front knee as we take either a series of smaller steps or one big step in. And take your time. Anytime we rush into these balance poses, I find it rarely makes it easier. So take your time to set your base. Left hand off to the left. I think that looks a little too wide though. Yeah. So you want to feel a big wide square here, but not so wide that the energy moves so far away from center that it makes it hard to balance. It's going to be a little different for everybody. And again, if you want to, once you start to get good at the pose, maybe you go a little narrower. But you want to find that balance between how hard you're working and a sense of ease and peace in the shape, so that you're not anxious to get out. You can find, in a handstand we call it the 0 point, where you're just kind of floating there and you could be there forever, or seemingly forever. 30 seconds could be a long time in a handstand or in any shape. Beautiful. And again, breathing into the center of balance, grounding down through the inner edge of the foot, drawing the energy up the inseam of the leg. And this could be your Instagram for today. From here, top hand finds the hip, will land easefully, a short stance, back foot comes down. Shifting the weight into the feet, hands find the hips. I find with hands on hips, I set my determination as you shift weight onto that front foot and take a big step back as we come back to our Warrior Two. From Warrior Two, one long arm, again looking out over those front fingers with that mixture of effort and ease. And from here, a big windmill of the arms as we find our low lunge. And from low lunge, back to down dog as you will. Give your breath or two to catch your breath. Coming back to same breath, Samarviti. We're going to work that paradiddle here. So big toes touch, heels slightly apart. Right leg high to the sky. High on the left toes. Keeping that right shoulder just as it is, lifted leg straight, stacking the hips. Now bending that lifted leg, opening up that hip. I'd say you can even bend it even more if your hip supports that action, if your shoulder supports that action. And then keeping the knee joint closed as we bring right knee to right wrist. Now walking the left foot back as you settle the hips. And then finding a place to park that heel that's comfortable for you. That could be the hip point, that could be somewhere short of that. I wouldn't move it outside the hip though. Once you find a little bit of comfort in the shape, we're going to set the shoulders, the tips of 10 fingers, shoulder blades back and down, open heart and throat. And at this point, take your time as you stretch out your back, or spidering the fingers forward. Try to find a little more space with every little movement there. At a certain point, you won't be able to find any more extension, relaxing into the shape. I prefer to keep the arms in extension, because that's a nice stretch for my shoulders, but my shoulders are not your shoulders. So Kathy, I would prefer, I think, to find a cross of the forearms. And if you want to work up a little bit higher, one of my other favorite strategies is a pair of soft fists. Again, just trying to find that place of ease in the shape. This is a pretty intense hip opener, so the more ease we can find, the better as we start to balance our effort with our ease. Wherever you choose to work, breathing, watching that breath and enjoying your reflection upon that breath. Now moving towards the flying swan, either walking the hands back or finding the tips of 10 fingers. Again, we're going to set the shoulder blades back and down. That's going to be the foundation. So the shoulders move this way, but everything else moves this way. So shoulders are heavy, but strong upward engagement. Perineum moves towards navel, navel towards heart. As we float the arms out to the side and then overhead. And then working the wrist circles, maybe the widening of the hand, and then the contraction of the hand, just connecting with the pulsation of your body, the pulsation of your breath. I want to keep your knee happy here, so I'm not going to hold you in the shape forever. As we spin the palms out, and I'll invite you to find the flats of both palms, so solid base here. And then from that place, tucking the toes, coming back to three-legged dog, keeping the knee joint closed. And once you have your foundation, carefully opening up that knee, inviting more circulation, more prana, more vitality into that closed knee joint. Now it's an open knee joint. So we squeeze the blood out, and the blood comes back in. Lots of nourishing qualities. And then when you're ready, ground it down through that foot, either holding your down dog, or one last opportunity this morning to cycle through vinyasa, yogi's choice. Vinyasa just means connected movement. You might just hold a plank. You might do the classic push-up. Again, finding lots of agency for your movement in this flow practice this morning. From down dog, when you get there, there's no rush. I'll invite you to land the knees lightly as we move towards a child's pose, settling the sits bones back towards the heels, nestling your belly between your thighs, arms in extension, at least initially. And then if that's comfortable, feeling free to keep the arms just like that. Yeah. You might find a cross of the forearms, a pair of soft fists. Kathy likes to spin the palms up on this one for a little bit of a different shoulder experience. And let's stretch it out side to side here. So from the palms spun up, I'll invite you to spin the palms back down, keeping hips and heels just as they are as you find a side bend, walking the hands to one side. Stretching far hip to far heel. Whatever sensations you're feeling, breathing into those sensations. And then walking the hands through center, finding that side bend on your second side. And take your time. And you can knock a brick over. Bricks are solid. Stretching other hip to other heel. And again, you might think about the two sidelines here. So there's the obvious line, but also a sense of space in the near line. And then walking hands back center, and I'll invite you to walk your hands back and bring your feet off to one side. So take your time here. Two long legs in front. We can find the top of our mats, or head has something soft and we come all the way down. So let's give our knees a little love and consideration before we get there. Yeah. Hand on each side, warming up that connective tissue. Ligaments, tendons. Lots of circulation there. Fingers find the back of the knee. And then letting the muscles be relaxed. Before there's one more step there. You want to give the kneecap a little wiggle. Yeah. Hey, little kneecap. And then other side. Warming up both sides. Fingers find the back of the knee. And then when you're ready, give that kneecap a little wiggle. Hello, little friend. And making sure it's still feeling good. From here, let's do a long, slow roll down onto our back. Either supported by catching the back of the thighs, or unsupported, starting from neutral spine or tall spine. Back of the head's in line with the sacrum. From here, tucking tail and shin. We'll start to round the side, C-spine. Arms in front, the Frankenstein roll down. Either palms face down, palms face up, or palms face out. Finding length between each vertebrae as we lay ourselves down. Slow, slow, slow. This is not easy. The lower you go, the slower you go. Nice. From here, full body stretch, arms by the ears. Not too low though. We want to keep the ribs soft and drawing in. Low back's going to lift. And then sweeping hands by your side. Widening your thighs, scooting the head back as you flatten your shoulders. Finding your Shavasana. Let's start to dim some of these lights here. As we hold Shavasana, initially focusing on the flow of your breath. As we hold the shape, even letting that focus soften as we bring our senses inside. We won't be here too long. I'm going to ring these yoga bells 3 times. Of course, at home, feeling free to hold your Shavasana as long as you'd like. your mind before you move your bodies. Bringing your attention back to your breath, watching as it flows in and out. Like watching a river as a river flows by. Now inviting more prana, more flow into your body, more vitality, more life force. Gently rippling fingers and toes. Inviting that life force in towards center as we gently circle wrists and ankles. Adding a little shimmer of the shoulders, a little shimmy of the hips, shimmery of the hips, whatever feels right and good for you, connecting with your own innate sense of well-being. Now to support the action of the legs, pressing your back into the mat to engage the core as we draw one knee into the heart and then the other. Hands catch the shins. We can lift and lower the low back and hips as we gently massage our bellies with our thighs, front to back, side to side. Yeah, keep the back of the head down initially, focusing on that belly massage. And now reaching back with a hand to lift and tuck the chin. We want to keep the neck relaxed. Keeping the chin tucked, hand comes back to the shin. Now either hands on shins as we start to rock ourselves front to back, or maybe the hands find the back of the thighs, whatever you need to do. And then a little momentum, a couple more times here, feel the massage on your spine. And then popping on up and finding a cross-legged sit. As we sit, take your time, ground it down through our sits bones. I'll invite you to bring your hands onto your knees. Pulling back with your hands to settle the shoulders as we sit up a little straighter, a little taller. From this place, 5 fingers of one hand find the ground. The palm of the other hand faces the sky. We're grounded, we're rooted, we have a foundation. We're also open to possibility. From this place, a slight tuck of the chin, soft eyes. Ending our practice as we started, watching as our breath flows in and out. From this place of breath awareness, I invite you to bring your hands to your heart and bow as you thank yourself for practicing yoga, and as we offer our practice out to each other and to the world. The light within us honors and respects the light within you, and in this light we are one. Namaste.
Namaste.
Thank you at home for practicing with us. Thank you, Kathy, for practicing with me.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, everybody.
And I love the way how Namaste sounds like. Have a nice day, and we'll see you next time. Thank you so much.
Have a nice day.